There are two types of people in this world, people who look strong and people who are unbreakable. At first, they look the same. They speak confidently, they carry themselves well, they seem in control, but life doesn't test you in normal moments. It waits, and then one day, something doesn't go your way, something breaks, something disappears, something you were depending on stops existing. And in that moment, the difference becomes visible. One person adapts, the other collapses, because one was built and the other was only supported. So the real question is not, how do I become successful? The real question is, how do I become someone that life cannot break? Here are the 7 principles. These are not motivational ideas, but things that actually change how stable you are as a person. If you master these in your life, you won't just grow, you will become unbreakable. First, learn to survive with bare minimum. Before you try to build anything in life, first learn to survive without it. Ask yourself this question: if everything is taken away from me, can I still function? Not in imagination, but in reality. No money, no support, and no external validation, just you and reality. Most people don't like this question, because their strength depends on conditions. They function well when everything is going right, but remove comfort and everything starts shaking. That's not strength, that's dependency. Real strength begins when you remove the idea, I need this to be okay. Because the moment you can live without something, you stop fearing its loss. And the moment you stop fearing loss, you stop behaving desperately. You stop chasing blindly, you stop clinging. And suddenly you become stable, not because life improved, but because your foundation changed. Second, stop assuming. Most people are not living in reality. They are living in expectation. They assume things will work out. They assume people will show up. They assume promises will hold, and based on those assumptions they relax. They depend. They build decisions, but assumption is dangerous, because it creates a feeling of certainty without actual certainty. You say, it will be fine, but you don't know that. He will help me. But it hasn't happened, and still, you behave like it's already done. And when it doesn't happen, you feel disappointed, but reality didn't betray you. Your assumption did. A resilient person moves differently. They don't become negative. They become clear. If it happens, good. If it doesn't, I continue. No emotional dependence, no blind trust in outcomes, just readiness. Because when you don't depend on assumptions, you don't collapse when they fail. Third, financial discipline. This is where reality hits. You can talk about mindset all day, but if your life is financially unstable, you are not resilient. You are exposed. Most people don't fall because life is hard. They fall because they are living beyond their limits, trying to maintain an image, trying to look successful, trying to keep up with others. And slowly, pressure builds. Bills, obligations, commitments, and then one disruption, everything starts collapsing. A resilient person lives by a simple rule. My income is my boundary, not ego, not comparison, but reality. Because if your expenses depend on your image, your life becomes fragile. But if your life fits within your capacity, you become stable. This is not small thinking. This is control, and control creates resilience. Fourth, believe only in what you control. There are things in your life you control and things you don't. Most people mix them. They depend on people. They depend on situations. They depend on outcomes, and when those don't go their way, they feel lost. A resilient person filters everything. If it is not fully in my control, I will not depend on it. I may use it, I may work with it, but I will not build my stability on it, because stability built on external factors is temporary, but stability built on internal control stays. Fifth, build life around what holds you. Most people chase what excites them. Very few choose what holds them. They pick things for money, status, recognition, and then they struggle to stay consistent because excitement fades, motivation drops, and suddenly they feel lost. A resilient person does something different. They don't just chase reward. They choose something they can stay with, something that absorbs them, something where time disappears. Because if your work depends on motivation, you will stop. But if your work becomes your nature, you will continue, even when it's hard, even when results are slow. Sixth, reaching the peak is easy. Staying there is hard. Everyone rises at some point, but very few stay, because success creates a new problem. Comfort. You reach a point and suddenly things feel easy. You relax, you enjoy results, you reduce effort, and slowly you disconnect from the process. That's where the fall begins, not because you failed, but because you changed. A resilient person doesn't get distracted by success, they stay connected to the process, because they understand. The thing that took me here is the only thing that keeps me here. Seventh, detach from results. This is the final shift. Most people work for results. A resilient person works regardless of results. They don't stop when outcomes slow down. They don't panic when things don't go right. They continue because for them, work is not a transaction, it is identity. And when your identity is not tied to outcomes, you stop breaking under pressure. You stop reacting emotionally. You become steady. So understand this. You don't become unbreakable by becoming successful. You become unbreakable by removing everything that makes you weak. First, become someone who can survive anything. Then build something that can achieve everything. Because once fear of losing disappears, there is nothing left that can control you. This channel gives clarity in a distracted world. Consider subscribing for more wisdom.